What's up guys, Rich here with an American watch company, Towson Watches, Choptank. So Towson Watches is out of Baltimore, Maryland, and the Choptank is named after a river in Chesapeake, Maryland. It's 40 by 44 millimeters, which is really 44 millimeters if we're talking lug to lug. It's 12.5 millimeters tall, and it uses a 20 millimeter strap width. So before I start talking about all of the features and functions and even the history of Towson Watches, I want to talk about is that it is a legitimate American watch company, and we don't have that many around here. I think probably some of the first ones that might come to mind are RGM and Weiss, though I would argue that it's more closer to RGM just in terms of a variety of different types of models. So Towson Watch Company is also not a new brand. They've been around since 2000, so they've already been around with us for over 20 years. So this is a brand that, if we're wondering, it looks like a nice watch or they have nice looking watches, but where are they going to be in a couple of years? Well, we really don't have to worry much about that because they are now coming on over 2 decades old. And, this reminds me a lot with companies that like Bremont or Christopher Ward or even RGM, all now established brands. And it's kind of hard to imagine that we at some point considered Bremont, okay, these are nice watches, but where are they going to be? But if history is on the brand's side, well, they've already passed that threshold of 20 years. And, if history has shown us anything, brands that are at least 20 years or older tend to be around for quite a long time. It's kind of like that comparison to restaurants, right? Most restaurants fail within the first 6 months, and after that, their chance of survival increases significantly. Well, that's kind of like what it is with watches after the 20-year threshold. Towson watches are there in the same longevity-wise as those brands that I just mentioned. So to me, that is really interesting. And before I start talking about all of these features on the watches, because there is a lot to cover on this, when I say an American watch company, they are very transparent in what we get with the watch. So for example, all of their components are either manufactured in Germany or Switzerland, but they are QC'd and assembled in the US, in Baltimore, Maryland, specifically in their offices, where, by the way, you can take a tour. So what I mean is, for example, this case is made in Germany. The dial is made in Switzerland. The blued brigade hands are made by Estima in Switzerland. The strap is made in Germany. The movement is the 7751 movement, which is a Swiss movement, a lot different from the 7750 movement if we're identifying this hole right there that would give that away. It's a lot more convenient as well, and we'll get into all of that in just a moment. So to get the Made in USA label, we know that there can't be any trickery. It's the strictest, actually most honorable label there is, because everything has to be made in the US. Not so much with the Swiss-made watches, right? We know a lot of trickery and manipulation can go into a Swiss-made watch, whether it's 60% of the value of the watch or how much of the watch is made in Switzerland or which components are made in Switzerland. And German-made watches, well, they can use a Swiss movement and still get the Made in Germany designation. None of that can be with a Made in USA label. So to me, this is as close to an American watch company as you can get. As long as the watch is designed and marketed and shipped from the US and QC, quality controlled, and hand assembled in the US, to me that is as much of an American made as you can get, because the US isn't quite there yet in terms of making their own movements the way that the Swiss are. So Towson watches are very transparent with their components. All of their components are made in either Germany or Switzerland. And why is that important? Well, for some of us, we will assume that if we don't know where the components are made of, we're going to assume that they're made in China, right? If we're being honest. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because that happens a lot more than we realize. Even our beloved Swiss-made watches or German-made watches get a lot of their components from China. None of that is true with Towson watches. Everything is either German or Swiss-made. I also mentioned the original founders, George Thomas and Hartwig Balk. But in 2016, Kevin Plank, the owner and founder of Under Armour, actually took a significant stake in Towson watches and with his venture capital company. And why is that important? Well, with their resources, they could take a stake in virtually any watch brand or watch company, right? But they chose Towson Watches, and that's because they really wanted an American watch company, and they really liked the direction and the models that Towson Watches made. Their goal was to raise awareness of Towson Watches. But fast forward to just a couple of months ago, where the new owner, Spencer Choptank, took over the brand, and he's going to maintain the same integrity of Towson Watches, meaning every model is limited edition to 100 pieces each, and he's going to make known that the watches are highly customizable, which, if we don't know, that is one of the things that Towson Watches are known for. So I want to show you this customized one. I don't know whom this was made for, but I like it a lot. And it's just an example of what you can have done through customization. And Spencer's going to do that on their website, make it very visual. And on all of the boutiques that carry Towson Watches, that will be a selling point in having everything customizable. So I spent a good portion of this video just talking about the impressive history and about Towson Watches and their ownership. But now I want to talk about the details of the watch itself. So it has the day and month at the minutes register at 12 o'clock. And at the register at 9 o'clock, it shares a continuous seconds hand with a timer. And then the moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock. So that the month and the day and the moon phase separates the 7751 from the 7750. But there's also a unique feature on the date. So you see it has its own independent hand with that red, that scoop looking at red that centers the date right around 4 o'clock. That actually will make controlling the watch a lot easier than a 7750. So with the 7750, we would have to use this hole or the crown to wind it many times to depress like a toothpick or something in here to change the date. With the 7751 and the way that Towson Watches modified this, that hand there for the date, we can change the day and the month simply with the crown, making it a lot easier so we don't have to do this. And the movement is adjusted to 5 positions. So for me, I've been getting plus 1 second a day in accuracy. So Towson Watches really did a really great job. And, you know, I know one of the cliches is, well, it's nicer in person than it is in images, right? And a lot of times that's true. It is absolutely true with Towson Watches. This just has a premium feel to it, a premium feel in the hand. It has a substantial weight in it. It just oozes quality. The finishing is first rate. Like I said, the case is from Germany. It is then hand assembled in Baltimore, Maryland offices. So just a premium looking watch, and I think it's coming across here too. The dial, it has a lot going on. It has a full calendar and a moon phase, but I also understand that this tonneau shaped case or the barrel shaped case may not be for everyone. And if this case is not your cup of tea and you like the more traditional round cases, you can still have the chronograph function and it's basically the same looking watch in their Mission Moon. You know, I like round cases, but this tonneau shaped case appealed more to me because I do have a lot of different round cases. It's just very classy and sporty at the same time. I really like those blued hands. That's something that if we don't have, I think having a watch or a dial with blued hands is something that we should all strive for. This dial is in copper, but it's also available in silver. So the pushers are pretty standard, meaning the top pusher will control the central seconds hand timer. So here I'll push it and we can see the central seconds hand timing and doing its thing. We'll stop it. The bottom pusher will reset it there. So this just has a really premium, like I said, just a really premium feel here. If we're looking for an American-made watch that is, to me, qualifies as a legitimate American-made watch, and we know that we want a premium, higher-end watch, and I think Towson Watches are going to be that watch for us. If there is one area of nitpicking that I might point out is right above 6 o'clock, right under that moon phase indicator, it says Swiss movement, which is fine. I mean, they're very clear where the components are. I just think it would be better suited on the case back. I know it says USA right there. So I think having a Swiss movement would just be better served on the case back, in my opinion. It doesn't harm it either way, in my view. I get what they're trying to do, but again, I think it would be better on the case back. And because the watches are all customizable, if that's also your thing, you can have that taken off, the Swiss movement right above 6 o'clock, and put that on the case back if you want. Which is what I would do if I had this watch customized. Otherwise, this is just a first rate watch. So again, if we're looking for that, if that's important to us to have an American-made watch, a legitimate American-made watch by a legitimate American watch company, Towson Watches are definitely worth a closer look. The retail price on the Choptank is $4,375, and that is certainly a premium price tag, but we're also getting a really legitimate premium watch. They are also carried, as I touched on, in boutiques as well. You can get it highly customized as well if you'd like. They also have a lot of other models, and some of them are retails for under $2,000. So they're not all priced like this. I think they run from $2,000 all the way up to, I want to say, $12,000-ish. So they have a nice range of watches, and all of their watches, regardless of price, we know that the components are either going to be the same from Germany or Switzerland, and they're all still QC'd and hand assembled in Baltimore, Maryland. So even though we may find a watch that is more to our price liking, the quality is still going to be there. So I'm really proud of having this Towson watch, knowing where they are from. And again, if you're interested in that, if that's important to you, then Towson watches are definitely worth a closer look. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you the next time.